What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here to discuss my top 100 list, my top 100 players of the 2020 NFL season. I went through, I did my best. This is my personal opinion, and now we have the analysts to break it down. Eddie is in here, Kevin Durkant, Party, Turtle. We're all going to discuss the top 100, and they're going to ask me questions about my list, their thoughts on my list, and kind of the controversial opinions within it. And then I'm going to describe why I have certain players where and answer their questions. So they're kind of going to act as you guys. They're going to act as the people watching the top 100 that have questions about it, asking me about why I rank certain players where and why I think certain players are better than others. So let's get into the top 100. Also, Ultra is going to be joining us at some point. He's trying to fix himself underwater right now, deep in the sea. So let's say hi to the guys. I know Kevin Durkant has questions right off the top. He was already saying how terrible my list is. So you start off, Durkant. Let me know. What's your first question? We're going to start from the bottom to the top, so number 100, and we'll make our way up to number 1 in terms of the questions asked.
All right. So I've heard this comparison brought up a lot. Why do you have Andrews above Darren Waller? I'm just curious.
All right, so Mark Andrews is at number 97, and Darren Waller is at number 100. Actually, Darren Waller wasn't going to be on the list initially. Number 100 was actually going to be Dont'a Hightower, but he opted out of the 2020 season, so he's not on the list anymore. So I had some kind of, I guess I should just bring that up first. So within the video, at the start of the video, you will see that I have specific criteria, and inside that criteria, any guy that got injured before this year, so guys like Brandon Brooks, not on the list. A guy that played less than 4 games, not on the list last year, so like AJ Green or Trent Williams, for example, or a guy that opted out like Dont'a Hightower, not on the list. Number 100's Darren Waller, Mark Andrews. That comparison, very close. I think the difference, while I do think that Waller is probably like more of a weapon in terms of, I think he's just more athletic. He can run, like he might be the fastest tight end in the league, to be honest with you. And I do think he was the number 1 option. He was the number 1 option in that offense, right? But so is Mark Andrews. I mean, so is Mark Andrews. And he was on a better team, and he was Lamar's go-to guy. He led tight ends in touchdowns with 10, I believe. And I just think he has a more all-around game. And what they ask their tight ends to do within their system, I think, is more important than what Waller is asked to do within the Raiders system. Like, the Ravens rely on their tight ends. Him, Boyle, used to be Hurst, right?
You're right about, and Patrick Ricard. They're
fullback.
Very underrated player.
So, Waller's probably more athletic, but what Andrews can do after the catch, when the ball is in the air, he's just nearly as good of a receiver, but I think he's more versatile and probably more important to his team. So that's why he's higher.
Why do you... I'm curious. I just need to hear, why do you have Kyle Juszczyk and Justin Tucker?
Yeah. Why is Justin Tucker a top 100 player?
Bro, he's the greatest. I mean, he might be the greatest kicker ever.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He's not the greatest
kicker
kicker
on my
ever.
top 100.
I mean, it's him or Adam Vinatieri.
It's Vinatieri. It's Vinatieri, then Morton Anderson, then
okay, I think
Tucker.
honestly though, like in terms of actual skill and actual statistics, nobody's been better than Tucker. I can see why Adam Vinatieri would be higher in terms of just clutch kicks in bigger moments that people remember. So I get that. But in terms of actual kicking, Justin Tucker is the best. And I mean,
I think like
he's on the top 100 because he just is so much better than every other kicker in the NFL. Like, when you're that much better than everyone else, you deserve to be on the top 100. The guy is so good that when he misses, people are like, oh my goodness, and they're tweeting about it.
Yeah.
Ioannidis is on your list? What?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ioannidis is a stud. I wouldn't include him, but he's a stud.
He's good, but I don't think he's top 100 worthy. I mean,
the reason why he's on the top 100 is because I think just from a numbers basis, if you strip all like previous bias out of it, he is a top 3 interior pass rusher in the league.
Oh,
like
definitely. Yeah.
From a year ago, in terms of pressures, sacks, I mean, he's right up there. Like there's almost no reason why he shouldn't be mentioned. Like, nobody mentions him for some reason, even though his numbers are
It's
like
because he's on the.
the Washington football team. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say you know what, but yeah.
Yeah, I think he is
think
on a
that,
bad team, but he is on the best position on that team, and they're a pretty dominant group together. And I think Ioannidis has been the best player of that group. So while he's not really well known, and he might not be the run defender that some of these other guys are, like I think those guys are all good. Payne, Allen, they're all really good players.
Jonathan Allen, yeah.
Yeah, they're all good players, but I think Ioannidis is the best of them. And if you look at his consistency too, I mean, over the past 2 seasons, he put up the sacks. It's rare for a guy in that position to put up like 9 sacks or 8 sacks or whatever he had, and then all the pressure.
That matters.
Especially when you're losing the way that Washington always is losing. So that's why he's on the list.
I can't tell whether or not your list is based off of like best players from 2019 or best players that are needed for, like, it's either 3 things for me: best players of 2019, best players going into 2020, or best players that are needed for the team in 2020. Like, if that fills their needs. Just because they fill their needs doesn't mean that, you know.
What do you mean by fill their needs?
Team, you know? Eric Flowers, one of the worst offensive linemen I've ever seen. But, like, let's put him on a team that needs an offensive line, and he's, like, their best offensive line player. Is he considered top 100 because he puts up so many good stats for the offensive line? You know, that's the thing. You know, he may not be a good player, but he has those stats, you know.
I do think it comes into play, though, because in team sports, any sport, if you're the best player on your team, you're going to have better statistics because you're going to be put in better position in any sport. If you're in basketball and you're the best scorer on the team, you're going to get the ball the most. Thus, you're going to score the most, right?
But just because you're the best player on your team doesn't mean that you're good. You could have a team of all.
What I'm saying though is that it's going to help you make the list because you're going to be more well known.
That's why I don't understand why one player from, like, I'm not being salty because no Jags were on the list for yours or the other thing, but like why isn't there one player from each team on there if one player on that team can make that big of an impact on a team?
Because honestly, I didn't look at it in that regard. I didn't actually. The criteria was based on 2020 going into 2020. Who are the best 100 players, and then within that, who played the best in 2019? Who has played the best the last couple of years, and then talent. And also, I felt domination of their position would make them rank higher and on the list at all, like Justin Tucker, like I said, or Kyle Juszczyk at fullback. They're just, in my opinion, the best by a mile at their position. That's why they're on the list. Yeah, I didn't have any Jags. So just to go there, I think that's a good question. I didn't even know that. I didn't have any Jags. I didn't even look at it that way. So that's how much I know, right? Calais Campbell was on the Jags last year, so he's on the list. So technically, he was a Jag.
I mean, I think he's too high. Even as, you know, a person that loved Calais Campbell, I still think he's too high for your list. I thought 70 was pretty good because, you know, he's getting older. 6 best defensive linemen. There are way better defensive linemen in the league right now.
The reason I have him so high is he's just such a freak and he's so complete. Like, PFF has ranked him as the best run defender in the league over the past 3 years. He was the top run defender last year at the edge position.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And the thing about Calais Campbell that I like about him is he's like 6'8", but
he's huge.
He could play every position, literally in every scheme.
Yeah.
There are
definitely. He's
I think maybe him and Eric Armstead are the only people that can do that in the entire
JJ
NFL.
Watt.
And JJ Watt. So there's like 3 of them in the entire NFL that can do that. So to me, the way I'm ranking players, I do feel like, okay, he's not only successful in Arizona, he's successful in Jacksonville, but he will be successful in Baltimore because he can just play in every position and dominate in every position.
Kirk Cousins doesn't deserve to be on the list because he's a choker. He's a choke artist. He's trash.
Hey,
don't
talk bad about Kirk. I think Kirk's kind of underrated. I understand he's like a nerd and all of that. He's like a nerd and stuff. And, you know, he was on a bad team, Washington football team, but he did well there. He's doing well in Minnesota. He was one of the best play-action passers in the league. He was one of the most accurate deep ball passers in the league. He had a top 5 passer
2016
rating.
skins.
I mean, the guy did a lot.
Whoa.
If we're being honest,
JJ Watt
if we're
21.
being honest, what was the big difference between Cousins and Breeze last year?
I missed it.
Like, Cousins and Breeze essentially did the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Cousins. Cousins. First of all, that skins team in 2016 should have made the playoffs if Cousins didn't choke against backups. That's number one. And that 2018 Vikings team should have made the playoffs too if Cousins.
No, they
didn't
shouldn't have.
choke
Their
against
offensive line
backups.
was absolutely awful.
Our
They
offensive
should-
line
they
was
should-
historically
They
bad.
played the Bears. They played the Bears.
The Bears
Backups.
were
They
a
should have
good
made the
team
playoffs.
last
The Bears
year.
have the best defense of the league.
They were playing their backups.
Really, guys? Like,
Alright,
you
Zach-
can't see Kirk Cousins as a top 100 player? Like, what else does he have to do
I
to get
hate
on the
him.
list?
He's top.
I hate him.
110.
I hate
I have him
him.
as the 12th. best
Okay, so that's
quarterback.
bias. That's not nothing to do with his actual talent.
I think
Okay.
Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. I think that he gets overlooked that a lot. You know, like
Yeah.
No, but I
Chris
think
Godwin is fine.
Chris Godwin, like, I was a little low on him, to be honest. When I look at this list, like, that's being conservative on Chris Godwin a lot. Like, having
No,
him at
it isn't.
89,
No, it isn't.
considering the
I have him
season
in
he
the
had
90s.
last year, that's pretty low.
Mitch, Joe Hayden was a top 10 corner.
No,
last
he
year.
wasn't.
Yeah,
He's not a
was,
top
bro.
10 corner. You can't line up
he
Joe.
clamped
Put it
down.
this way:
No.
you can't line up Joe Hayden on the outside by himself on an island and just say, "Okay, track OBJ." OBJ's gonna run by him 9 out of 10 times.
Hayden slow.
The other time will be a flag.
Hayden's not. He's a playmaker though. That's
He's a
Hayden
playmaker,
is
but
like a
I
top
think
10 corner.
Hayden and Nelson are both put in a perfect defense for what they do well, because that front seven is so good. It's also part of the reason that Richard Sherman ranked lower than probably some other people have him.
I mean, hey, Jair had Zadarius and Preston Smith.
Kirk Cousins,
Alexander
you know,
also
like-
is just physically more talented than Joe Hayden.
Oh, I agree. Alexander's a stud. He could be top 5 next year at the corner position, and I wouldn't be surprised. Marshawn Lattimore one spot ahead of Jair. I just want to say that I think that Jair's I think that he's probably more talented, but Lattimore's proven more.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I agree.
Agree.
I think I agree with that. But let's see what Turtle has to say.
I'm not happy.
Oh, here we go.
Where should he be?
No.
Okay, realistically,
Nah, but
where
for-
should he be?
For real, I honestly don't mind him at your 8th ranked cornerback, but you probably could have spread the corners out a little bit more.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think
Player.
is hard to do. It's hard to sort of separate positions out from just being lined up. Like, I legit
It's
thought
legit hard.
edge rusher 1 through 10 could easily just be 21 through 30.
Yes, I agree. No, seriously, if you look at my list, I think there's no exaggeration, probably 9 or 10 edge players within the top 50. So, that's the strongest position in the entire NFL, and it's not even relatively close. But corners, I just feel like it's so hard for them to be consistent because it's such a hard position to play. So,
Yeah, but
that being said,
I would say
it
that
makes it difficult to be great every year like these pass rushers are, like the Von Millers, the Khalil Macks. Honestly, there's no corner other than Sherman that is close to their status. Like, even Gilmore is not on their status of consistency. So for Alexander and Lattimore, they've been good, and Alexander was really good last year, and Lattimore's been good for the past 3 or so years. But Lattimore hasn't been the best corner in the league, so I can't rank him way up there. I don't know. It's really a difficult conversation, and I agree with what you're saying,
I would
Turtle.
say-
That's just kind of where they fell. I don't know.
I would say though that the fact that corner's so hard to play, you could consider that those guys are among the most talented in the league, and because they play the most difficult position, or one of the most difficult positions.
Yeah, that's understandable. I just think we probably see their mistakes more often too, right? Because we always see the pass
Yeah.
being completed.
I agree with that.
It's harder to say, okay, that defensive end didn't set the edge correctly on that run. It's really hard.
Okay. Byron Jones at 86. I like that.
Okay.
Um,
Dolphin fan.
85 Matt Ryan. Party, what do you have to say?
That's not good.
Matt Ryan. Matt. Matt Ryan at 85.
Ultra's
Matt Ryan kind of
dancing
declined
right
last
now.
year. If I'm being honest with you, he did kind of decline last year.
Oh,
I will say
Come
Matt
on.
Ryan did have kind of a rough end of the year, and I think that's after he got injured. And the offensive
but
line
his-
wasn't very good last year.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Matt
The
Ryan
O-line
is,
was terrible.
like, I would feel bad about not putting Matt Ryan on the top 100 because he's just been so consistent throughout his career. He's always, like, near the top 10 quarterbacks in the league. All about him, Julio, and Ridley, and that's about it, to
I
be honest
agree.
with you. So that's why he's at 85.
I agree. Kenny Galladay, wide receiver 9. The 7 through, 12 best wide receivers are really interchangeable. They're all kind of like
To
on that
me,
same
I
level.
think I actually pretty clearly have Odell at wide receiver 7 and Mari at wide receiver 8. It's kind of more like, for me personally, wide receiver 9 for Galladay, wide receiver 10 for Diggs, and wide receiver 11 for Godwin. And then after that, obviously I don't have a wide receiver 12 on my list. So I felt like it dropped off after 11. 9 through 11 is pretty close to me.
I'm going to compare Cooper, Galladay, and Diggs to each other.
Cooper statistically,
See what comes out.
I think is probably worse than maybe all of them. But I just think when you look at Cooper's game, he really does not have
Oh, that's what I meant.
any flaws.
I'm going to compare their game.
Yeah, like, he's so explosive. He's probably one of the most explosive receivers. Him and Diggs are pretty similar in their games, but I just think Cooper is probably just a tad
Cooper
bit.
gets more targets.
Yeah,
he
Yeah.
gets more targets.
yeah. I do
Cooper's
think
a brilliant route runner.
what I've seen from Cooper is they're both amazing route runners, but I think from Cooper over Diggs is those big 200-yard games stand out to you more for him. Like, he just takes over games sometimes, and I think that's probably why he's higher.
Denzel Ward at CB6.
I know some will disagree with that, but
Yeah, I don't know if I'd have him above like a Marshawn Lattimore, but they're all really like the same person, so I'm not going to argue with that. Alvin Kamara at RB8. He was hurt a lot last year.
yeah, that was really
But
why
he
he
did.
was so low, to be honest. Realistically, for Kamara, I think probably next year he'll be within the top 50 or 60 players.
Prescott at 78, QB10.
Yeah, Dak's kind of honestly underrated. He gets hated on way too much.
thanks a lot for making me for not picking any Jaguar players, because that made me go off, and that made me not call a timeout at the end of the first half,
Oh,
and didn't get
no.
my field goal, and I lost by 1 point in the divisional round. I was trying to call I forgot to call a timeout.
Sorry.
Next time, put a Jaguar player in. I'm bad.
I should
Yeah,
have
you-
squeaked Josh Allen in there.
I don't know if I'd put Anthony Harris in my top 10 safeties. I'm going to be honest
Really?
with you. He,
I don't
agree.
think he is.
I agree.
yeah,
Why
I
not?
think
Why
that
not?
he's,
Can
like,
you guys
top
let me know why?
15.
I'd probably have Marcus Williams above him, Turtle.
Because I don't think that he was really good last year, but I haven't seen the consistency, and I know that
was good the
Zimmer
last
makes
2
safeties
years.
look better. I know that Zimmer makes safeties look better than they are, especially those deep safeties like he was.
Okay,
and
but
he definitely benefits a bit from Harrison Smith and his versatility. So I don't think that he's quite as. I don't think he's good. Top 15, maybe top 12, but I don't think
they
he's
were a top 10
Yeah.
pass defense
elite
last
tier,
year, and it was all because of their safeties. You can't say their corners are
Yeah,
any good.
but like,
Yeah, their
is,
corners suck.
is
But
Anthony Harris really only 3 worse than Eddie Jackson?
yeah.
yeah, Eddie Jackson
Jackson
is
wasn't
getting
really.
underrated.
I mean, he took a step back last year, but he was good. But I mean, I think some
I
people
think he's-
overrate him a little bit. I have him at safety 9. I think they're a similar player.
I-
I think Eddie Jackson is better, obviously, but they play similar roles in kind of similar schemes. And Eddie Jackson is probably like a slightly better playmaker, but they're both kind of like those playmaking safeties that like read and react and get a lot of interceptions and stuff like that
But he's been dealing with injuries though.
all the time. And the thing I will say about him is actually I took this from the top 100, the real top 100. The Cowboys lost every game he didn't play last year. So obviously he's important.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's an interesting stat. But a blindside tackle
0-3.
is definitely a very, very important position, blindside tackle. I think that Lyle Collins was better, impressed me more though. But like my thing is that Collins, like when I watch them on like tape, Collins just seems like more athletic, and it just seems like he can do more. Like it seems like I haven't seen Tyron being able to run and make blocks on linebackers
I'll
and
also
safeties the
say
way
this,
Lyle
though.
Collins is.
They probably chip on Collins' side way more often than they chip on Smith's side. I guarantee you, if you watch them both, Smith probably has way more one-on-ones than Collins does.
Ezekiel Elliott, RB7.
Here we go.
And this is where we get. You have Joe Mixon above
Yes,
Ezekiel
sir.
Elliott. That's a
Bill
controversial
Belichick
take,
would have him
but
first.
explain yourself.
So Bill Belichick would have him first. That's all I gotta say. No, I'm just kidding. This is how I would compare them. I think their receiving skill sets are pretty similar. I think Mixon doesn't get utilized as much as he should out of the backfield. I think his skill set receiving-wise is actually better, but he's just not in a good offense. I also think that Mixon was incredible late last year with maybe the worst offensive line in the league. And like his ability to be patient and make people miss more often than Zeke is the difference why I have him higher than Zeke. Zeke is more like powerful, but I don't see a difference in speed between the two of them. I just think Mixon is probably better one-on-one when making people miss. That's probably the difference between both of them, to be honest.
I rewatched Zeke's highlights from like his rookie year to this year, and there definitely is a difference between his elusiveness and his speed.
I also got to
more of a
factor
power
in,
back now.
I understand like the stats are so consistent with Zeke, but how much of that has been the offensive line? Like how many times do we need to prove that a great running back is just good without a good offensive line? Like the fact that Mixon is even in the conversation with this offensive line is amazing.
And it's kind of a coincidence that every year the Cowboys' offensive line has kind of got a little weaker. Zeke has got a little worse.
Eric Kendricks at linebacker 4.
Yeah.
He was amazing last year.
He was.
But given the criteria for your list, I can understand that.
I think the other thing I'll say about Kendricks is the reason why he might be lower. He was amazing last year, and like you said, his consistency hasn't been on par with the others. But I just don't think he's as explosive of an athlete as the other guys. He's more reliant on his intelligence, I think, than the guys ahead of him.
Odell Beckham, wide receiver 7.
Yep.
If it was based off of last season, I'd probably disagree, but he's definitely, considering what he's done over his career and how talented he is, I can see that, definitely.
And I would say, like, out of the top 10 receivers, outside of possibly Galladay, because he had no Stafford for like 8 weeks, he was in by far the worst situation out of all of them.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I agree. Shaq Barrett at edge 12, he led the league in sacks, but that's the first time he's done anything. That's the first time he's done anything like that. So.
Yeah. The thing about him is like he was able to rack up all those sacks before people started realizing how good he was, and then they started double teaming him, right? So then it was like, oh, now this guy's actually legit, and I think he is legit. And
yeah, he had that crazy 5-game stretch.
Yeah, right.
I swear every other play on the top 100 video for Shaq Barrett was Matt Ryan getting sacked, Matt Ryan getting sacked.
Drew Brees at QB9, that's going to be controversial for a lot of people.
Yeah, I actually had him,
part.
if you guys remember, I had him actually below Dak, but I moved him ahead of Dak.
You had Dak above Breeze, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I moved Breeze back up to QB9 on the top 100. And
Okay.
I feel that way now. Like it was really close on the quarterback rankings, but I just, I felt like even though Breeze's arm and physical capabilities aren't on Dak's level, I still think like the accuracy and the intelligence still puts him a little ahead.
I want to see Dak perform more in clutch moments.
I want to see
Breeze folded in the playoffs, but he played well against like the 49ers, the Titans.
Exactly. The thing about
The
Breeze
Texans.
is like he's so efficient, and that's the thing I like about him. That's why he's at number 9. The reason he's not higher, and the reason Brady is higher than him, is I think Brady does everything Breeze does, but I think Brady just has a little bit more physical capability than him, as well as last year playing on an absolutely dreadful offense. But, I think Brady has the stronger arm at this point, and I don't think anybody manages the game like Brady does, even Breeze. I don't think Breeze is even on Brady's level.
David Bakhtiari at tackle 5. I don't mind that. I don't think that he's on the level.
Higher.
I don't think he's on the level of a Stanley or Schwartz, if I'm being honest with you.
I kind of agree, but then
Is that
again, like David
purple?
Bakhtiari has been probably the best pass blocker in the entire NFL over the past 5 years. So that's why he's in the top 5.
I think Stanley and Schwartz are in their own tier, and then like Bakhtiari, Ramczyk, Armstead are in the next tier.
I agree with that.
Richard Sherman at 61, cornerback 5.
Yep.
He was probably like last season. He was probably like top 3, but he was. He's not there physically when you're comparing him to the guys that I know are above him.
Yeah, that's the thing with Sherman is like, I know people make fun of me, whatever. I just don't think, like, speed-wise, he has, like, a kryptonite, while I feel like the other guys ahead of him just don't have any kryptonites. Like, Sherman can just be burnt by an average guy with, like, really good speed. Even though he is probably the smartest corner, him and Gilmore, and he's the best maybe in zone coverage, I feel like. And his consistency, I understand he's Richard Sherman, but, like, last year he wasn't in the top 100, like, objectively, so.
I'd have Jared higher, if I'm being honest with you.
I'm lower. I don't even have him on my list.
I think he performed like he's performed at an elite level without the defensive lines that guys like Campbell or Buckner have had. So that's really why I'd put him higher than those guys.
He's always been a good pass rusher. Like, I think people started to learn about him when he had like an amazing game in the Super Bowl. But he really improved, and he really stepped up his game as a run defender. His pass rushing was a little down from it was the previous year, but his run defending got a lot better this year. And that's what I think. Like, not a lot of people knew about him, but I think this season people refer to Grady Jarrett now as one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league.
I agree with all of your guys' points. Like, he's a good all-around defensive lineman. He is the best player on the defense by a mile, in my opinion. I think he's much better than even Deion Jones, and you guys know how much I love Deion Jones. And he kind of carries that pass rush. Buckner, I just feel like, is physically just more dominant. Like, the guy is a freak. That's why he's higher on the best defensive line. But being, I felt, the most important guy on that line was why he's also higher than Jarrett.
You have Nick Bosa at edge 11. Thank you for spitting facts, because he is not a top 5 edge. I am trying to tell people.
Like, the brother thing with the Watts and the Bosas, like, it's just a thing.
Yeah.
The hype is, like, real with them. But, I mean, these guys are fantastic. Don't get me wrong. The reason why Nick Bosa is 59 is the biggest reason is because of consistency, because he's only been in the league 1 year. And he was on the best defensive line. If you took him off the line, they'd still be in the top 5. Like, Buckner, Armstead, D. Ford, you can't really double-team Bosa. You just can't.
Yeah.
So he's going to thrive.
And I will say, Nick Bosa, people don't overrate his potential, because he does obviously have the potential to be like the best edge in the league.
He does.
But based off of last season, he wasn't the best edge in the league. People kind of need to chill on his hype.
Like, okay, yeah, but like, how can you put him ahead of the guys that are ahead of him? Like,
Joey Bosa at edge 10, Joey above Nick. These guys get compared a lot because they're brothers, but I agree with you.
They're
Joey's
similar.
better.
I just think Joey is probably more refined. He also led the edge position with run stops, so he's a little bit more well-rounded.
Controversial one. Minka Fitzpatrick,
It's
bro.
not
Safety. I'll say this. Last season, just based off of last season, Minka Fitzpatrick had the best season for any safety in the league. Last season.
He wasn't better than Jamal.
He had the best season.
No, he didn't.
He had the best season.
He wasn't better than Jamal Adams. He wasn't better than Simmons. He just wasn't.
Simmons is... Why do you overrate Simmons?
Simmons literally led him in every category. Literally, like, every category.
He's a stud, but he didn't.
Yes, he did. I could pull
No, he didn't.
I'll pull up a tweet for you, and I'll send it to you. Justin Simmons just does more better. Okay? Yes, Minka has interceptions, and he plays for the Steelers.
That's not true.
Okay?
That's
Yes,
not true.
I would agree that Minka is probably one of the more valuable safeties, because of all you bring up is, like, if you take him away from the Steelers, they're not a good defense.
It's not just that.
But
it's the fact that he does everything so well. He covers well. He's the best. He's arguably the best playmaker. He does everything at a high level. He'll cover tight ends. He'll cover wide receivers. He'll watch the QB. If you watch the tape on this guy, there's a lot more than that he does than just staying back and letting everything happen in front of him. There's a lot more that he does in his game.
I don't think his
to
versatility compares to the top 4 guys. That's why he's here at number 6.
To be fair to Mitch, Simmons did allow a lower completion percentage, a lower passer rating, and had more run stops.
Remember this. Remember about Miami.
Simmons is just on the Broncos, so you don't watch.
He gave up on us.
Miami
I do watch
into
Simmons.
account, Minka allowed a lower rating, but he allowed a higher completion percentage.
Who wouldn't give up on Miami, especially?
Who wouldn't give up a
situation?
lower rating on the Steelers when they have Cameron Hayward and Stephon Tuitt and T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree?
Simmons has Von Miller.
Simmons has Von Miller. The rest of the defense was injured.
Simmons had more run stops. He's a better run defender.
Simmons
better,
was the highest rated run defender this year at safety.
He's better against the run.
He's better everywhere.
But Minka's better against the pass. He's not better everywhere.
This is the one thing Minka's better at. He's better at reading, reacting, and zone coverage. That is it.
Minka is Simmons with better ball skills.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah, Minka is a more complete version of Simmons.
Totally
Basically,
disagree.
watch the comparison.
Couldn't disagree
Look at the
more.
comparison.
Carson Wentz is not a top 50 player.
Did you make the NFL's list?
I'm not in the NFL, so I don't have any right to.
You would have all the Jags.
Carson Wentz is
Minshew
not a top
number
100 player. He's good, but I just.
Hey, I have him at 52.
I would have one Stafford, but that's it.
Stafford was better than Wentz in all of these categories. All right, less time to throw.
Wentz has a better O-line.
Air yards per catch. Stafford ranked first, 8.3. Aggression percentage, first, Stafford, 23.4%. That means tight window throws. Second, expected completion percentage in the NFL, 60.9. Completion percentage above expectation, 5th, compared to 23rd for Wentz. Team Yak, 30th for Stafford, 15th for Wentz. Average separation yards, 32nd for Stafford, 8th for Wentz. So when looking at the team support that everybody claims Wentz had none of, Stafford's was worse, according to these statistics, and Stafford was a better, more accurate passer. Yep. So literally nothing about Wentz's game was better than Stafford. The only thing I can say about Wentz that I think is better than Stafford is I think his ability to create on the fly is better. Outside of that, I don't think he has anything that is better than Stafford.
You said Stafford was ranked last in separation?
Yeah.
His receivers are really good at catching jump balls.
Yes, but the accurate passer has to put the ball in a spot where they can catch it.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Stafford's really underrated in that regard.
Stafford is more accurate.
He's more accurate.
Especially downfield. Downfield, he's very accurate.
I mean, Stafford was like in the MVP conversation when he was playing. Like you can't say that.
He was insane.
You can't say that about Wentz. I'm sorry. Like as good as he was late in the season, you can't say that.
I don't remember people talking about Stafford in the MVP race.
I only remember people talking about Russ. Yeah, it was all Russ.
I think it was
hurt.
I mean, I think if Stafford would have started winning games,
no one mentioned Stafford
because they were 3-4-1. They won 0 games without Stafford. If they would have started winning games, he probably would have been in there because people would have realized, oh, he's leading the league in yards. He's leading the league in touchdowns. He has one of the highest passer ratings. Like, people would have clued in.
Okay, so...
Like, from a playing perspective, he was playing better than basically everyone. He was on par with Lamar and Russ. Like, he was right there.
But I don't understand why people think Wentz is so good. I just don't understand.
He is. He's one of the best arm talents. He's very mobile. He can extend the play. He can do everything.
So does Josh Allen.
Josh Allen isn't accurate.
Josh Allen isn't half as accurate as Carson Wentz.
Okay, Wentz had no receivers, but Wentz had literally the best tight end combination and a stud running back and one of the best offensive schemes and offensive lines in the NFL. So people saying like Wentz had no help is like, to me, ludicrous. He's obviously my QB7. I just think like people that are saying like he's the most valuable and all this stuff is just like too much for me.
He's not going to last the season. He's at least going to have one injury this season. If not,
he played 16 games. He played 16 games.
Jason Peters is playing a whole new position at a guard position. He's not going to be good at it. or he's going to get hurt. The left tackle position is not going to be as good now. Okay, so maybe he has some good receivers. Not the best receivers, but all right. He's going to get blindsided, get hurt. Week 3, Jalen Hurts is going to come in and going to probably take his job if Jalen Hurts does Jalen Hurts Alabama style. You got to consider Wentz being gone, because if the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round, then they must be considering Wentz's stability.
There's
and,
fair point. I mean, but then again, when comparing him to Stafford, you can't really say that because Stafford got hurt.
I don't even think Wentz is that good either way. I mean, I don't think he's that good as a quarterback, but now going into the fact that he's always injury prone and he can't come through for his team, and they have to have Nick Foles come in, and if they don't have Nick Foles, they're terrible in the playoffs.
Can't come through. Yeah. He went 4-0 with Greg Ward as his wide receiver. What do you mean can't come through?
Here's the thing.
They don't make the playoffs last year. They
play the Giants. They played a collapsing team in the Cowboys. I think they played Wentz in another game.
Wentz got hurt in 2017. He's not durable. The reason why his durability is why I don't have him. His durability and inconsistency is why I have him lower than like an Aaron Rodgers. But when it comes from like a physical standpoint,
I don't think he is, and this is where I would say Wentz is lacking in the comparison to the elite quarterbacks. I don't think he thinks at the speed of these quarterbacks. I think he gets away with like being in a really awesome offense and being a really great athlete. And he can do everything that those quarterbacks can do, but he doesn't do it as fast. He doesn't diagnose offenses as fast. And maybe that has something to do with his age, and maybe he'll get better at that. Again, I love Wentz. I just think like he's the 7th best quarterback. Like, that's not a bad thing. That's really good. He's better than Tom Brady for me.
Jeez. A better version of Carson Wentz.
Tom Brady's way better than him right now. As of right now, I think Brady's a better quarterback.
48. Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
A lot of people hate Ramsey because of his attitude, but he had a down year last year. But to be fair, he did give up on the Jags. Okay,
here. The reason he is ranked at 48 is because of his attitude. I think that affects how he plays. I think because
he's the Adrian Broner of the NFL.
He couldn't back it up in LA. Did he even have any interceptions?
2.0.
I don't even think he had any interceptions.
Okay, this is the thing I will say positively. When he was on the Rams, I think he only allowed like one receiver over 12 yards, which is like stupid good. But
yeah, and you know who that was?
No, I don't want to know.
He had one interception last year for the Rams.
Derrick Henry at 47, RB3. You have your running backs so low.
Yeah.
Why?
But that's a fair place for Derrick Henry. He had a pretty good end of the year.
Not pretty good. Not pretty good. Amazing. Unreal.
He led the league in rushing.
Unreal.
Yeah, because where's their passing attack?
Here's the thing.
Of course, they're going to run the ball when they have like a pretty good, decent running back and no passing game. And Ryan Tannehill's.
Wouldn't that mean that teams are able to game plan for him more, making it even more impressive? Like he was one of the best running backs against the box.
Ryan Tannehill
he was one of the best. Their passing game improved a lot. He was one of the best running backs.
Great.
Come on, he's not.
What?
He was one of the best running backs against the box.
Sort of like a
their offensive line though was just amazing at the end of the year. Too.
You know what I don't know if you guys are too young for him, but Brandon Jacobs. I see a lot of Brandon Jacobs.
Giant.
Derrick Henry is like a fast version of Brandon Jacobs. So Derrick Henry and the running backs are low in general, and I'd be lying if I didn't say that like positional value and the way that I value running backs didn't affect their ranking. I'd be lying. A couple things. So yes, he was dominant at the end of the year, and that's everything everyone ever remembers about him. He's always dominant at the end of years, but for some reason, he's very inconsistent. Like, he's very inconsistent at the beginning of the year. He doesn't really seem to take off until like late November, early December. Then he's spectacular. And then the second thing is, he doesn't catch the ball, like, at all. So, I mean, every time he's in the game, you basically know he's going to run it, and if it's a pass, it's a screen pass. So, like, he's a very one-dimensional player. He's a great player at what he does, don't get me wrong, but he's very one-dimensional. And when comparing him to everybody else on this list...
His strength hasn't been seen since, like, Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, he's amazing. Don't get me wrong. You could argue he should be higher. I completely agree with that. I don't know. How do you rank a running back? A running back needs so many things to work. to be like
Mitch,
You
I
guys-
think you're underestimating like how much a running back that can just flat out wear a defense down can
Okay,
do for
he
a
had
team,
200
because
yards
it's
versus
not-
New England, and they
Marshawn Lynch
scored
can
like
catch the ball, though, so
17
he's
points.
Not really
Like,
a Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, but
Like I feel like as a running back, you have to be both. You could both catch the ball and run the ball.
those are the ones
and,
that I value higher, in my opinion.
Of course,
This is my
100%.
list.
That's why I feel like that's a good spot, Derrick Henry. If anything, I feel like he should be lower on the list. I understand your reasoning perfectly. If anything,
Sure.
I think I had Henry like in the 70s or 60s.
Derrick Henry over his last 16 games has 19 receptions. Christian McCaffrey over his last 16 games has 116.
So that's part
Duh.
of that's part of the reason I have him.
Bobby Wagner is overrated.
Party's
Overrated.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
You can't see
Bobby
this
Wagner's
now.
top 30, top 20 at best.
No, I'm gonna be real. I always saw it because there's so many people that think he's better than Leonard, but if you watch the tape, he can't do what Adarius Leonard can do.
Week 10, San Francisco 49ers versus Seattle Seahawks, and watch Bobby Wagner on every play, and he's the fifth best Seahawks defender.
You say that's your excuse every time. You
Okay,
talk
this is
about
what I'll
Bobby
say
Wagner.
about Bobby Wagner. I think he probably is still the best run defending linebacker in the league, but in
Yes.
terms of pass coverage last year, he significantly fell off.
He declined. He
Yeah,
declined so much.
and
But I
maybe
just-
that is because like he's being asked to do too much for their defense because their defense doesn't have many other great players on it. Just to be honest, now Jamal Adams will help. He
Yeah.
might even get better this year. When I look at linebackers, this is the way I look at linebackers now. I didn't used to, but the way I look at them now, because the game has changed, the position has changed, and what you need out of linebackers changed. You need to be able to do everything at linebacker to be able to impact the game, and more than anything else, you need to impact the passing game more than anything else. And that, to me, is why Bobby Wagner is not the best linebacker in the league.
Chandler Jones, 9th best edge.
Yeah.
Explain yourself.
Yes, he's the best sack artist in the league, but when you actually look at how disruptive he is for an opposing quarterback, he isn't in the top 5. Like, when you look at pressures, when you look at hits, when you look at game-to-game production after the quarterback, he's not in the top 5. And then when you calculate run defense, he's not even in the top 20. So, like, as a complete player, while he gets a lot of sacks, and that's what shows up on the stat sheet at the end of the day, he's not on the level of a complete player as Von Miller or Khalil Mack or even Zadarius Smith with his versatility. I saw Chandler Jones in years before he even got to the Cardinals where he was elite on New England, where he put up 12 sacks with New England, but there would be stretches of games where he was invisible. But then all of a sudden you'd look at the box score and he'd have like 2 sacks, and you're like, Chandler Jones had 2 sacks? I don't remember him affecting the game. So to me, edge, this is the way I look at edge and defensive line. The more plays you impact in a negative fashion for the offense is how I rate you, not in terms of just pure sacks or pure numbers.
He's
And
on
he
the
has a
level as a
terrible
player.
supporting cast, which is why I respect him
Yeah.
more. So I agree with that point. But then when you look at the players ahead of him, Myles Garrett, I mean, he didn't really have much more than him, and he was way more
Garrett's better.
efficient. Khalil Mack had nothing around him this year, and that
Mac-
was more out of
I'll
respect.
say this. We can get to Mac later.
Hunter was just on a different level. Cameron
Hunter
Jordan
Mayfield.
had nobody around him. Zadarius Smith had people around him, but
And
I'll
Jordan,
get
he
to
had
him.
Mario Davis playing out.
Not an edge. He's a linebacker.
Von
He's
Miller,
not
his whole defense
rushing
was
the
hurt.
passer.
And who else? I mean, TJ Watt. So, yeah, we'll get to all those, but that's why he was higher than like Joey Bosa and Nick Bosa, because those guys had more help.
Levante David at linebacker too. Explain yourself.
What is his flaw? He doesn't have one. He's fast. He's
Yeah.
quick.
He's slow.
He
He
has
is slow.
incredible
but not Davis.
instincts. He is the best in the league in coverage, according to PFF. And, I mean, like, really, what does he not do well? Like, I hate that this guy is so underrated. It's, like, criminal to me.
He's underrated, but he's not that high up in the list.
What does Eric Kendricks not do well? What does Garrett Kendricks not do
Levante
well?
David is a faster Eric Kendricks. And a smarter, I would say, even,
Yeah,
because he's been around the
100%,
league
but
more.
He's not top 20
Okay.
or top 30. He's at
All
least
right, I
in
agree
top
with
20.
you. David's elite. I just needed you to explain yourself because a lot of people would
just
be
watch
very
his
much
like,
low
literally
level.
just watch his
But he's
highlights.
not that high up on a
I think there's
list.
5 truly elite linebackers.
The guy is a great
I think-
tackler.
I
He
think
makes
1
big
is
hits.
clear, and
He
I think
forces
2 through 5
turnovers.
is
He
very
makes people
close.
around him better. He's a great leader.
Oh, wait,
Literally
no,
everything.
that was my bad. He's at 42. I thought he was at 22. I was like, what the heck?
No, he's at
I'm looking
42,
at
but
this.
he's linebacker
Yeah,
2
okay,
to me.
you're good.
He's only behind
Okay, then
Darius
you're
Leonard.
good. That was my bad. I thought he was top. I thought he was 22.
Yeah, linebacker too.
And the reason
But
he's
I
ahead
think
of
the
Wagner is
for the
because
NFL,
David was
like-
the best in coverage and Wagner was nowhere close.
39, Tyrann Mathieu. He's on safety 4. I'd have him. I think the top 3 safeties for me is pretty clear.
Mhm.
But Tyrann Mathieu, to his team, the most valuable safety in the league. He did a
Yeah.
360
Yeah.
turn on that secondary for the Chiefs. He's
Man, you love Simmons.
I get it's
his
kind of hard.
versatility.
The top 4 safeties, they are by far the 4 most versatile safeties in the league. That's why they're in the top 4. He plays just as much nickel corner as he does safety. Like, he's not actually like
Yeah.
a safety. Like, if you look at, he played the most nickel snaps of any safety in the league by like 60 snaps. So he has great versatility, but he plays like 2 positions essentially. And yeah, he's smaller, so he's not going to be as good of a run defender as Justin Simmons, who I think that's where I graded
he's like
Simmons
5'9".
slightly better. Yeah, he's 5'9". He's a small guy. He's probably better in man-to-man coverage, but I mean, when you look at the numbers, they're pretty similar players in terms of coverage. They just do it a little differently. Matthew is just really good. I think he's also really good in terms of his leadership and the way he impacts the defense just through his pure like excitement.
Yeah.
Mike Evans, wide receiver 6 at 36. I agree with this.
I
Do you
almost
think
ranked
that-
him ahead of Devontae Adams, by the way. It's super close. It's like very
Yeah.
Devontae Adams is the 3rd best receiver in the National
He is.
Football League.
No, I
He's-
have him 5th, and
Num-
it's closer to 6th than it is 4th or 3rd.
Number 4. I
Alright.
think Devontae Adams is the 4th best receiver in the league, actually.
Khalil Mack at edge 7. This is controversial for a lot of people,
Nicholas.
either one way or the other. But I will say this: Khalil Mack's pass rushing moves got figured out by a lot of people, and
Yes.
against elite tackles, he did not perform at all.
Bakhtiari.
Yeah, and Bulaga and Trent Brown. Like and against Ramchick and Armstead, he just really didn't show. I didn't see the same Khalil Mack that I was used to watching last season, and I think that a lot of it has to do with his pass rushing moves getting figured out.
It wasn't
That's
even
how-
just like the elite tackles. Like he had 0 pressures against the Rams.
Yeah, that's not a good look.
Okay,
It's
so
not a
this
good
is
look.
why Khalil
I don't-
Mack is not
Andrew
ranked higher.
Wilkworth.
I went through this entire process. I made a chart based on PFF statistics to take bias out of this equation. So I did pressures per game, pass rushing productivity, which is basically pressures per snap, and then I did run stops per game. So Mack ranked with 4.4 pressures per game. That was the second worst out of 12 players that would have been on this list. I think 12 or 13. The only player that was better was my 102nd ranked player, which was Trey Flowers. His PRP, which is pass rushing productivity, was an 8.0, which was, again, second worst, only to Trey Flowers. Players higher than him: Chandler Jones, Miller, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Barrett, Jordan, Hunter, Zadarius Smith, J.J. Watt, Myles Garrett. And not just, like, when you look at 8.0 pass rushing productivity, you compare that to Zadarius Smith, who had a 10.6, which led the NFL. After that, J.J. Watt, 9.7, Hunter, 9.7, Nick Bosa, 9.7, Miller, 9.8. And people said Miller fell off. So, like, looking at that in comparison to Mack, like, his pass rushing wasn't on their tier. Run stops, he was in their tier, 23. That was only, I think it was second or third. Third, Trey Flowers had 26. Joey Bosa had 34. And then Hunter had 20. And Miller had 19. So, no, his pressures weren't higher, but his pressures per game were higher, I guess. But, like, I don't know. Are you supposed to judge players off of?
Like, if you added 6 games to that and like that total, like, do you think it would still be as high or would it be lower?
What, like
I
the
don't know.
average or
Garrett's
the?
a lot.
What are you saying? The average or the
Like-
actual total?
Like no, not the total, but the average. Like
I don't know. It would probably be a little lower, but I don't know. It's hard to say.
What do people not see in Za'Darius?
That's what I want to get to because I
don't know. That's why I usually would count players that are like a lot. Like you said before, a lot of people said Von Miller like went down, but he had that and he played I think almost all the games last season. So I mean,
so basically, Mac is ranked this high because he was so dominant the last 2 to 3 years. But he ranks low because in comparison to his peers, he had a bad year. I mean, he ranked 9th. In comparison to all these other guys.
I agree with that. Last year, he was objectively like the 10th best edge in the league.
I don't understand the hate for Za'Darius Smith. Like, he's a very good player.
I just think he hasn't done it enough. That's probably why. And he's on the Packers, and it's all about Aaron Rodgers.
Jason Kelce is center 1. That's really good. He's amazing.
I think Hudson's better, but
you can argue that. But I think what Kelce does, the reason he's first is because I think the plays that they designed for the Eagles' offense, I don't think any other center could do what he does, like in terms of run
definitely.
blocking.
That's why I feel like a lot of people have him at number 1, but I feel like it really could just go either way, so like 50-50.
Top 30. This is where things get controversial. The top 30. Number 30 is Ryan Ramczyk, tackle 3.
Yeah.
Number 30. I think that's a fair rating. High. He was amazing last year.
Yeah,
29
just
an
anecdote here, a little quick stat. He's been ranked as PFF's number 1 run blocker the last 2 years.
Von Miller at edge 4. I know that you love your Von Miller.
Yeah, you love Von.
I mean, I think the guy is amazing. Like, what do you not like about him? Did you see that one sack?
He owns both Brady and Cam.
Yeah, that's
I don't
true.
like his goggles.
Did you see that one sack where he literally dove to the ground and popped back up and sacked the guy?
That was insane.
Yeah, see, Ultra knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Za'Darius Smith at edge number 3. You love some Za'Darius Smith, but I know why.
I honestly think Von Miller is underrated in terms of where he ranks all time among edge rushers.
Oh yeah,
that's probably because J.J. Watt gets all the hype. It's because J.J. Watt gets all the hype.
Okay, Za'Darius Smith led the NFL in pressures and pass rush productivity, and yet he's not even like in the conversation for some people.
He was by almost every metric the best pass rusher in the league last year.
DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver 4.
Nicholas Gill.
Yeah, D-Hop.
DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver 4. I have him 5. And I think that the interesting part is not Hopkins' rating. It's how far he is from wide receiver 3. But
yeah.
Let's go down the list.
Mitch thinks Hill has an argument for being the best.
Yeah, so that's why he's so high. We'll get to that. Just to
Fletcher
say about
Cox
D-Hop, he's amazing. Just everything. So I think he actually proved to me that he's a better route runner than I thought last year.
Devontae is a more polished D-Hop. I'll just say that.
To be fair, Mitch.
Hopkins is a way better contested
game
player.
Carlton Davis, but it's Carlton Davis. Like, what are you going to do?
Carlton
he was
Davis
sick.
Should be number 1.
He had an illness.
And D-Hop is great, but he did not beat Gilmore. You can't. You need to stop with...
First of all, 3 first down. Every single catch he had was big in the game. Gilmore was straight shadowing people all year.
Hey, he did beat White,
that was
though.
the most
I'll say
impressive.
that, and I don't think anyone else did, so...
No, Parker beat White.
Okay, yeah, Parker's everyone's kryptonite. He should be number 1 on this list, but he won't bring that up.
Yeah, he's literally God.
Okay, continue.
Fletcher Cox, defensive lineman 3. You love some Fletcher Cox. He's probably the main reason why the Eagles' defensive line has been so productive.
Oh, yeah.
Really, since that Super Bowl run. Eats up a lot of double teams, great against the run. Didn't post the sack numbers, but that doesn't really matter when you're comparing defensive tackles.
Yeah, he's one of the game's best disruptors. I think the thing with Cox is his true actual value doesn't show up on stats.
And he's been so good for so long, which I really respect.
A lot of what defensive tackles do doesn't show up on stats. That's why a lot of them get underrated compared to, like, Aaron Donald.
Yep. Aaron Rodgers, yeah.
I'm going to say this. Rodgers, I think it's a little high. I don't think that I get that he's the 5th best quarterback, but I don't think that talent-wise he really measures up against a lot of people. But even his wide receiver, Devontae Adams, I don't think he measures up to a lot of these guys.
What does Aaron Rodgers is awesome.
He's not. I don't think that he's that much better than Wentz.
He's better
do.
than Wentz.
I think he is the
yeah.
clear number 5.
All right, this guy seems a little low. Darius Leonard, linebacker 1 at 24.
Yeah.
My thing is with Leonard is I think that I'd have him at least top 20. At least top 20. Because he's amazing at everything he does. He's definitely the most complete linebacker in the game. And like he'll rush the passer, he can cover really well, he doesn't miss many tackles. When he grabs a hold of you, he's not letting go. I think that I would have him over a Derwin James or a Tre'Davious White, but
Here's the thing. I think the reason when I thought about it was why Darius Leonard was at 24 was because I don't think he impacts the game the way that the players above him do. Like, I don't think he has the role. I just think James, like, he's basically Darius Leonard, except he's better in coverage. Like,
Derwin James is amazing against tight ends. I'll say it. He's amazing.
Derwin James was the best
essentially-
safety in the league in 2018.
He essentially
That
plays
was Bojack,
linebacker.
but
He essentially
That
plays
was
linebacker,
Bojack.
but he's just everywhere in coverage, more so than Leonard. Like, they're actually comparable players. They're actually more comparable players than some of the linebackers at Leonard's position. That's the funny thing about it.
Same thing with Mitchell Schwartz, tackle 2. That's fine.
He allowed one
J.J. Watt.
pressure in the playoffs. That's insane.
Yeah, he's in the Super Bowl too.
One pressure in the
performance.
entire playoffs. Restate that.
You want to know where he was on the NFL's list?
Where?
Not even top 100.
That's
Wait, what?
That's disrespectful.
He wasn't in the top 100.
That's disrespectful.
Wow.
That's very disrespectful.
And just look at this list. Look at how many Chiefs are in the top 20, too.
Yeah, they're very
One,
top-heavy
2,
team.
3, 4.
J.J. Watt at edge 2. He would definitely be higher if he was playing.
Yep.
Also
He's
showed
so
me the
high up
little.
on that list. I don't understand this. It's like the whole.
He's amazing.
This is why.
It's amazing, but
This
he's
is
always
why.
hurt.
Yes, I agree.
There can't- what I
But in
show
my
you?
top 100, you'll see a drastic difference between that and my edge rankings, because in my edge rankings, I more ranked guys that I'd have, like, because Watt doesn't play that much, so I ranked a lot of guys ahead of him because he's always injured. But when looking at the top 100, when you're looking at consistency and you're looking at domination, you're looking at when they actually play.
Dominating. He's
J.J. Watt
He's consistently dominating getting hurt. He's
J.J. Watt had
getting
6.5
dominantly
pressures a
hurt.
game. Do you want to guess the number that was second behind that?
Like 2.
4.
Zadarius Smith, 5.8. So that's almost like one more
Jesus.
one more pressure a game. And then the thing that Durkant said too, when I was thinking about it, he came back to the playoffs and still played well, even though he was hurt.
Yeah, he dominated the Bills game with lack
Well, the
of
Bills
conditioning.
don't have a really good offensive
Can't-
line.
What did I
that's the
show
thing.
you?
It's still the playoffs.
Yeah, it's they made the playoffs, and Josh Allen's mobile. He's not slow, and with a lack of conditioning at an NFL level, you should not be able to play that well in a playoff game like that if you aren't just a freak of nature.
Durkant, what did I show you?
His stats, you should be like the top edge rushers in their productivity.
Oh, he would have
Game
led
by
the
game or
pressures
something
by
like
a
that.
lot, even over TJ by a lot.
Yeah, he had 12 pressures against the Colts offensive line.
Yeah, and that's like the best offensive, not pass blocking wise, but it's one of the best offensive lines in the
Top
league.
Probably
pass
three, top
blocking
3,
lines,
yeah.
at least.
Probably third. Or
20, Tre'Davious White,
Yes,
CB2.
sir.
I don't have a problem with that. Fantastic in man and zone, does really everything well. Travis Kelce at tight end 2 at number 19.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely the best route runner at the tight end position, the best receiving tight end overall. No problem with that.
He was also very clutch in the
Ronnie-
playoffs, so that helped.
Yeah, Ronnie Stanley, 18 Ronnie Stanley at tackle 1. I agree with
I
this
think
because he's a
Kelce
better
will,
run. He's a much better run blocker than Mitchell Schwartz. He's more versatile. He's more athletic. That's why I had him number 1.
His pass
well.
blocking stats too. I know he didn't pass block as much as Schwartz, but they were ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly though, when I watched the tape on him versus Clowney, I know it kind of opened me up to Clowney as well. But Schwartz is definitely a better pass blocker than Stanley. I'll say that. he's elite, but
Oh, yes,
he's
I agree.
not
I think the
as
reason
good
Stanley is first is because he's the most well-rounded.
17 is Deshaun Watson. I don't mind that at all. Zach Martin at guard 2 is 16. That seems a little high,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
he
No,
wouldn't-
I think
I
Zach
don't know if
Martin
I'd put
is
Zach
the
Martin that high.
second best lineman in the league.
Yeah, but
he's been.
number-wise,
But when you're talking about consistency, he's been amazing for basically his entire career.
He's been an all-pro
So
like
I
4
understand where you're
times
coming
out of
from.
6 years. And he was
I
like,
understand
pass
where you're
blocking
coming
wise, he
from.
was actually better than Nelson. And, I mean, he was like top 4 in run blocking. So the guy is amazing. Like, I know he
awesome,
wasn't
for
as
sure. I
good
don't know
as
about
he was
16 though.
before, but
T.J. Watt, the edge 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jamal Adams as your safety 1.
yeah. By the
there's a-
way, TJ and Jamal were really close. I swapped them like 3 times.
Jamal, I expect him to have the best season of any safety in the league with the Seahawks. I think he's going to have an amazing year. So yeah, I don't really have a problem with that. This is where it gets dicey because you
here
have
we go.
Christian McCaffrey at 13, and then at 12 you have Saquon Barkley. First of all,
Yeah.
almost everyone that I've met would have C-Mac in their top 10.
Yeah, I know.
So that's maybe even
C-Mac
top
in
five.
top
5.
Yeah.
Maybe even top 5, yeah. And,
He's awesome.
And not just about Saquon.
Should have
Okay.
won Offensive Player of the
Why
Year.
do you
side
think?
note.
Why do you have? First question is, why do you have McCaffrey out of the top 10, and why do you have Saquon ahead of him?
I think there are players that impact the game more than him in the top 10. I don't value running backs in the top 10.
Then why isn't Watson top 10?
But I will say this. I mean, McCaffrey was amazing, but like,
he does more than any running back should be doing, you know.
Did you see my
he does,
comparison
but okay.
between CMC and Saquon?
he does, but when you look at my top 10,
If
Who-
you put McCaffrey at a wide receiver position,
who are you taking out
he's just
of there?
as good
I
as any
mean,
other receiver in the league.
I think he's
I'd
better
push
than
Jones.
Chris Jones.
I don't
personally.
think
Yeah,
Chris Jones is so
Like,
I take
good.
him.
The other ones
I-
are very arguable, but I think he's better.
I
than
take him over everybody that's not in the top 5, and even
No
then,
way. I'd way rather have George
I'm-
Kittle. I'd way rather have Michael Thomas.
I'm
I'd way
taking him
rather
over
have Quentin
Kittle. I'm
Nelson.
taking him over Kittle.
Me,
MT, he can do more than Thomas.
Than George Kittle, and
He can do more than Thomas and Julio.
Yeah, he can do more
Kittle
than Thomas
is-
and Hoy, and he's like,
Kittle's
and when you're
good
comparing him
blocking
to
wise,
Kittle,
Kittle's good, but
Kittle can
you
do.
know,
What do you talk? Kittle can do everything.
so can McCaffrey though.
And
McCaffrey can do
can do
everything,
everything.
but like, I just,
And if it's about value, why is Chris
Mitch
Jones
Jones-
ahead of Deshaun
I just
Now,
think
here
you
we
guys
go.
are.
Yeah,
Here's the
honestly.
thing. Here's the thing with the
McCaffrey
running back
top 10.
position. The running back has so many manufactured touches. As good as McCaffrey is, how many of his catches were just swing passes out of the backfield, and then all of a sudden we look at the stats and it's 110 catches. Like,
Okay, but he turns those into productive yards. Like he's
yes, he
making
does.
people miss.
But if
he's
you're saying a player that
dragging people
impacts
at
the
the
game
end.
on
He
George
turns garbage
Kittle,
like
if it's 3rd and
garbage.
5 and you have Michael Thomas and Christian McCaffrey on your team, who are you throwing the ball to? Who are you giving the ball? I'm giving it to Michael Thomas.
That's actually pretty.
That's
That's pretty close.
pretty close.
Actually, I'm trusting.
No, it
trusting
isn't.
C-Mac to give me
probably a
5.
top
I'm
15
tr-
receiver.
I'm trusting C-Mac to
I'm
give me-
giving Michael Thomas his dumb slant route, and he's gonna catch it for a first down. I know it.
I'm giving I trust C-Mac to get me 5. I trust C-Mac to get me 5.
Saquon's more explosive. That's why he's ahead of him. Saquon's gonna be a Hall of Famer.
Okay, Saquon.
So is Christian.
Why
though.
is
Saquon is a better runner.
you got to get a touchdown in your 50 yards away.
Saquon's offensive line is doo doo.
Mitch, why
Okay, but
then why is
let's be-
Tyreek ahead?
Tyreek is the biggest
Sanders are
game
not
breaker
good.
in the NFL. Period. End of story. Not even a discussion. The Patriots
Tyreek
invented
Hill
a
is-
defense to cover Tyreek Hill. That's how good he is.
They still couldn't cover him.
Tyreek Hill is not. I'm taking Devontae Adams over Tyreek Hill.
Bro, Tyreek Hill is insane. You know how fast he
He's
is?
got the speed. He's
Okay.
got the explosive, but he's not as polished as a guy. He's
don't
not
give
as
a shit.
consistent
I
as a
don't-
guy.
I don't
He's
care.
Not, okay,
I don't care.
Do.
Just
I
run-
do.
Bro, run
But,
us.
no,
Run
here's
it.
the thing.
Okay.
I understand. Like, I think Tyreek Hill is top 15 in the league. Yeah, is
All
he
right,
all speed?
let me put it this way.
Probably, but the impact he makes on that team is so pivotal for that team that if they didn't have Tyreek, like they wouldn't be where they were. Look at Jet Chip Wasp. If he didn't have that speed on that play, he wouldn't have
Nobody
gotten
runs
to
that route
point.
other than Tyreek Hill. But let me put it this
No
way.
one
Okay,
runs
there's plenty of
no one
receivers in
runs that
history
route,
who
and
could
no
run
one
that
else
route.
in
No.
the league-
There's-
Other than
probably
Randy
nobody
Moss, there are
in the
zero.
NFL is making that play other than
Theo
Tyreek Hill.
probably
And they're
could've,
not
'cause he
winning that
sucks,
Super Bowl.
but
This is the thing, okay?
Jet
Devontae
Chip
Adams.
Wasp
Let's
is
compare him to
overrated.
Devontae Adams and DeAndre Hopkins, okay?
Okay, let's
Who
do
would you
it.
rather
Let's
give
do
a
it.
jet sweep to?
A jet sweep? Well, obviously Tyreek, he's
Who
faster.
would you rather throw a screen
Tyreek's
to?
faster.
A screen to?
Yeah.
I'd take Tyreek in the screen pass.
You want me
Okay,
to be a
who would
devil's
you
advocate
rather-
here?
who
Who
would
would
you
you rather
rather-
throw a jump ball to?
Who would you expect to score a touchdown on a slant route? Tyreek Hill or Devontae Adams?
Michael Thomas.
Neither.
Who would you? Oh,
And
yeah,
Antonio
get
Brown.
the F out of here. Who would you think is gonna score a go route? Tyreek Hill or Devontae Adams?
Devontae Adams will run a double move deep, not a go route.
Who
And the
will
reason
catch
why
a
he runs
jump
so many
ball?
double moves is
Devontae
because
Adams or
Aaron
Tyreek
Rodgers
Hill?
is so good. Okay.
But he's amazing at them. He is one of
Yeah,
the
I
best
don't
route
think-
runners.
yeah, so
maybe
is
the
Tyreek
best
Hill.
Aaron
in
Rodgers
the
places
league.
the
He's
ball better than anyone else in the league.
That's true.
Mahomes. So Mahomes is
Yeah,
inaccurate.
so
now.
Mahomes sucks, right?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
but
Mahomes
Tyreek
is
Hill-
It's
inaccurate now.
accurate, but the
Tyreek
way
Hill is
Aaron
a
Rodgers
game
has
breaker
done
with
it for
the
so
worst
many
deep
years,
passer in the
he
league. His
places
name
You
is
don't
the
think
ball.
that
Alex Smith.
Mahomes' arm
You act
strength?
like Mahomes.
You don't think that Mahomes' arm strength doesn't help Tyreek?
Oh, it does.
It
But
Yes,
does,
but
but
do you
that's
not-
why Tyreek is up in the as one of the best receivers in the
Okay.
league. But
Okay.
So
I don't
is
think,
Devontae.
but here's the
So
thing,
is
I don't
Devontae.
think McCaffrey
And
is
Tyreek
better
doesn't
than
have some.
is
I'll
worse
say
than
this.
Tyreek.
Does
And
Gilmore?
Devontae
Hey,
doesn't
does
have
Gilmore
somebody
cover
polished
Adams?
than
Yes.
Tyreek.
Does
Tyreek
Gilmore
is more
cover
dangerous.
Tyreek Hill? No, he doesn't. Does
All right, but
Gilmore
guess
shut
what?
down
But
Adams last year?
does
Yes, he did.
Devontae-
Did Gilmore shut
does-
down
does
Hill?
Devontae-
No. Bro,
Does
it's not
Devontae
close.
have
It's
somebody
not a
like
discussion.
Tyreek Hill to
It's
take?
not
Does he
even
have
a
somebody like
discussion. You
Travis
could argue
Kelce to take
You
Tyreek
know
pressure
what I
off of
think
him?
it is too?
Does he have Travis?
And this is going back to what Mitch was saying about the whole McCaffrey thing with catching the ball. What about Michael Thomas? Everyone thinks Michael Thomas is like the best receiver
He's
in the
awesome.
league because he has so many catches. It's the same thing with Christian McCaffrey, like with the Christian McCaffrey thing. They're just
Oh, this is ignorance.
Michael Thomas,
is
though, I will
ignorance.
say this. I mean, the guy. I think, for me, the
I don't
thing
think
about
he's a
Thomas,
good receiver. I just think he has a lot of catches because
You don't
the
think
only
he's a good
decent
receiver?
He's
Okay,
the only
that's a little
decent
much.
receiver
That's a
on
little
that
much.
Saints team.
That's a little much. He's
Oh
in a
my
great
God.
scheme. He has a great quarterback. He has a great coach.
But
That's the only reason why he's making all those catches.
Michael Thomas is very tough. Michael Thomas is a great route runner and gets a lot of separation. So, like,
And Turtle thinks I.
And he's
hate
very
Michael
strong,
Thomas.
too.
This man just said he's
The only
not a
thing
good
he really
He's
doesn't
receiver.
have
strong,
is
but not
speed.
fast. But like,
The only thing he
it's-
doesn't have is speed.
I don't know.
He's more of a
What is he, like,
okay,
over
he's more of a
Madden?
system product than Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, that's why.
but he's
I
still so good at what he does. Like,
Oh yeah, and speaking of systems,
He's
which
the
is
most
better, Andy Reid's or Matt LaFleur's?
Here's the thing: they're two totally different receivers when it comes to
Tyreek
Hill
Hill
and
Devontae Adams couldn't even run the routes Tyreek Hill runs.
They're
not even in the same stratosphere.
Devontae's a top 3 route runner in the league.
Get out of
Devontae
here.
Adams is twice the route
No,
runner.
but
Tyreek
you
Yeah,
don't
Hill is.
understand
he
what I'm
is.
saying. They wouldn't ask
But the
Devontae
routes that
Adams
matter-
to run Tyreek Hill's routes because
Yeah, 'cause
Tyreek
they're
Hill is so
different
fast.
players.
That's
They're
the only
They're
reason he
different
runs
players.
those
They're
routes.
not the
routes
same
that
play.
Tyreek Hill runs are what wins the
John
Chiefs
Route?
per game.
John
No
Ross
other
better than-
receiver runs Tyreek Hill's routes because nobody can. Literally nobody. Okay,
No,
was Marvin
you know,
Harrison a better route runner than Randy Moss? Yes, but was Randy Moss a better receiver? Also, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Randy.
Well,
this
Marvin
is
Harrison-
a different.
Why?
comparison. Randy Moss is basically the best receiver of all time.
Tyreek
he
Hill's
was a
the
freak. He
fastest
could do
player in the
everything.
NFL.
But he's
not
when
a
it comes
bad
to-
route runner. He's a
when it
very
comes-
good route runner. Just watch his
Devontae's
highlights.
elite.
Devontae's
Devontae
arguably
might
the
be the
best route
best.
runner in the
He
league.
might be the best.
Tyreek,
maybe
you
the
get-
best.
Okay, let me put it this way.
Devontae's
We'll
the
finish the
fourth
discussion
best
here.
receiver in the
Okay,
league.
I would rather have a player that can get the ball at the 1 yard line and score a touchdown, rather than a player that has to have 10 receptions to score a touchdown. That's just my opinion. That's why
You know
I
what?
have
Oh,
Tyreek
my
Hill at
bad.
11.
Devontae's the fifth best receiver in the league. It's Devontae Adams, then it's
I think
Julio.
Hopkins
then
is better
it's,
than Adams as well, as you see on my list.
Hold up, you just said Julio's the 4th best receiver.
Yeah. Because then it's Tyreek at number 3, then it's Hopkins at 2, and then what's his name? Thomas at 1. But
You
he
have
could
Thomas
go
at
either
1.
way,
You just
right?
said Thomas
wasn't
sucks.
a good receiver and then ranks him at 1. Where's the consistency?
Because he's still the best receiver in the league. I don't think he's not my favorite receiver in the league. Doesn't mean he's still the best receiver.
Wait, what does that mean? Does
How
that
are you
mean-
going to put Julio, who's arguably the best receiver of the decade, at 4?
The decade, yeah, we're talking about this year, and guess
Yeah,
what?
who
buddy? We're
else
in a
is
new
who else
decade.
is his comp
We're
besides
in a
JB
new
for the
decade.
decade? Yeah, boy, fourth wide receiver is a terrible take, a cold take.
And I said, you know what? Tyreek Hill is better than Julio Jones at this point. So
Yeah. I should have put Tyreek at number 1. I'm sorry.
Nobody actually thinks Julio's the
Julio.
4th best receiver.
What's your argument for Michael Thomas being lower than Julio Jones, Mitchell Milani?
The same argument I had for Hill and Adams. Julio can do everything at an elite level. Thomas is limited as a downfield receiver. Part of it is Drew Brees in the scheme. I understand that, but he's just not as fast. You just can't line up Michael Thomas outside and say, beat that guy. And you can do that with Julio.
Turtle.
that's why I don't
Turtle.
think Thomas is that good, in my opinion. But you know,
That you had him number
I don't
1.
think he's that good.
I had
but
him
he
number
ranks
1 because
number
everyone
one.
else has him at number 1 at this point. So I might as well not get into another argument.
No, he has Tyreek at number 1, he said.
Oh,
Yeah, now
Tyreek's
Tyreek-
better than
No,
the
we changed it that quick. All right.
four you said.
George Kittle is amazing. We had this argument earlier. Best tight end in the league, elite
Oh,
blocker,
easily.
elite receiver, does
Elite after the
everything
catch.
at a high level. Yeah, elite after the catch. He's amazing. I wouldn't have him. All right, this is where it gets nice. So you have Julio 6th.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I get that. You have Gilmore 5th.
Yeah.
You have Lamar 4th.
Yeah.
Okay, I get he was the MVP.
He was MVP.
All right, but I don't think that he is as complete as
He had
of
1,000 yards
player
rushing and led the NFL in touchdown passes.
as a
I had him at
Gilmore,
4th also.
as a Kittle, as a Thomas, as a Nelson. I don't
I'll
think that
restate
he's
what I just
as
said.
complete
He led
as
the
these
NFL in
guys.
touchdown passes, and he had 1,000 yards rushing.
Yeah, I get that.
No one
but
has ever
is
done
his
that in the history of the
accuracy on
NFL.
Is his accuracy on the level of an elite quarterback? Is his
It
throwing
doesn't need to
power
be.
on the level of
It doesn't
of
need to be.
That's my thing with Lamar.
He doesn't need
He's
to.
not
Why
not
does he need to?
elite as
He just runs
as
away from
many
everything.
categories as a Gilmore. Gilmore is the best shutdown corner we've seen since Darrell Reeves.
I would take
I'll
him
say
over. I would take Lamar over Kittle and Thomas. I wouldn't take him over Gilmore.
The Kittle is elite at everything.
Yeah,
he
I
does.
have Gilmore at 5 and then Lamar at 6.
I have
Yeah.
Lamar
Yeah,
there because 1, he won the MVP. 2, he's a human highlight reel. I haven't seen anyone like him in my life. And 3, I mean, he set records. Like,
Yeah.
dude. Plus, like, I don't think the Ravens would be able to play the way that they play without him. Like, if you get rid of Gilmore from the Patriots, they can still play that style. Not as well, but they can play the same style. But with Lamar, it's like, no. They're not doing RG3. Like, it's not happening.
I mean, that's the case for that's kind of the case for a lot of elite quarterbacks, even Deshaun Watson. Without him,
Yeah, okay, but if you replace Deshaun Watson with Russell Wilson, they're the same team.
Well, if you replace Lamar with Russell Wilson,
No.
I think
No.
the Ravens are just
No.
fine.
Nope.
I think they're just fine.
Nope.
I think they're just fine.
They can't play the way that they play. Nope.
They can't play the way what they play, but I think that they would still be able.
They would
to
probably
create
win
a
10
very
games
good
instead
offense.
of 14, probably. They would have to play differently. They'd have to be a totally different kind of team.
I think that he's.
They
I
would
think
have to
that
be
Russell
totally
Wilson's
different.
also great at elevating.
He
subpar
is. That's why
weapons.
he's ahead of Lamar, but
Number 2 is Aaron Donald. I will say this: Aaron Donald is the only player in the NFL who is a 5-star at everything he does.
Yep.
6 stars.
Just saying.
Aaron Donald, I would not be mad if he was anywhere in the top 4. I would not be mad if he was
he's
number 1.
good for me.
I think the top 3 of Mahomes, Wilson, Donald is clear.
I think you can argue
I don't
Lamar.
know. I think my number one was Mahomes. Number 2, I think I had McCaffrey, and then number 3, I had Wilson, and then 4, I had Donald. 5, I had Gilmore, and then 6, Lamar. It's
Yeah,
debatable.
I think you can
mean.
debate the top 4. I think Gilmore at 5 is pretty solid, and then
Yeah,
I think
Gilmore at 5 is
6
like a definite.
6 and 7 can be flipped for me. Then I think Thomas is probably pretty good at. I don't know because, like I said, I think Hill can even be argued in there. But
I
Nelson,
think Hill is number.
God, you love Hill.
I mean,
He's such a Hill fan.
amazing.
I love
But
Hill.
he's not as consistent.
whatever.
He
All
doesn't
right.
do it from
Enough.
a game-to-game basis.
Because there's other receivers on that team. It's not like the Saints where
He's
it's
so
like,
inconsistent because his offense is the
that
best
can
in the
go
league,
get-
and he takes all the attention.
I mean, that
so
can go
Kelsey
You know what?
can
We'll
get
see it this
one-on-one.
year when Emmanuel Sanders
That
is
can
doing
go two different
We'll
ways.
see it this year.
Devontae has no
Defenses are
Devontae
so
doesn't
scared
have
of Sammy
anything.
Watkins. Yeah, you're right.
Mahomes at number one doesn't really have to be explained. I'm sure everybody knows why.
But I hope you guys enjoyed this. It was fun. Thanks for
I definitely
joining.
did.
Eddie, thanks for the rants. Turtle, thanks for being silent in the background. Ultra, thanks for fixing your microphone. And Durkant, thanks for going through the list.
Asleep.
On that note, that's where I'm going to end it. Thanks, guys, for joining us here. Gronk, spike the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on my top 100 and anything we discussed here in this video. It's Mitch, Eddie, Durkant, Turtle, and Ultra. Peace.